Hello, it's Dr. Kormanik with Running Rehab. So in this video, we're going to show you basically a big toe stretch, which is really critical for running. Obvious mechanics: when you're running, you're sort of midfoot coming to the forefoot, and when you roll off the forefoot, you're coming off the big toe. A lot of people, though, because we're stuck in shoes all day long, our feet aren't very strong, our big toes get very stiff right through here. So when we go to toe off, we'll sort of roll to the outside of the foot and avoid motion in the big toe. That obviously creates all sorts of issues all the way up the chain, all the way from outside ankle, outside knee, meniscus in the inner knee, into the hip, or some irritations in through the metatarsals of the foot, like stress fractures, metatarsalgia, all that sort of stuff. One way that you can easily tell if you have this is what's called a pinch callus. Basically, that's a callus where you have a big, thick callus on the outside of your foot, and or a callus under the second toe right here. Okay, so big thick callus on the side of the big toe and then under the second toe here, because that means that when you're going to toe off, you are stiff through the big toe, so you roll your foot this way so the inside part of your big toe hits the inside part of the shoe, and you pivot off the second toe here, which develops the callus under the second toe. So again, that's called a pinch callus. That basically indicates that you have a very tight big toe. Fancy term would be functional hallucis limitus, basically meaning that your big toe is stiff when you're motioning it. So funny thing is, so you land, you're going off, big toe stiff, so you roll it to the outside. All you have to do is just help basically stretch it. And it's kind of hard to actually like really mimic this sort of form because our knee is slightly unlocked when we're coming through. It's not until later that we start to straighten the leg. So we kind of have to get a stretch that basically incorporates bending the knee with stretching the big toe. So we call this box big toe because usually you kind of want to box it up where the big toe is kind of pulled back and the rest of the toes are allowed to fall flat. And then basically what you'll do is you'll get into a kneeling position here in such a way that you're going to allow for your knee to be able to go past your big toe if you have the motion. So I have decent motion through here, but basically, so I'm obviously stretching the big toe, but now when my knee is unlocked, I'm isolating the muscle that runs up into the calf and basically forcing that stretch through there. So for this one, basically holding it for 30 seconds to a minute to start, because holding it for long periods of time could actually be pretty damaging on the joint. The joint being the sesamoids on the bottom of the big toe here. You do not want to inflame the bottom of the big toe. So aggressively stretching this too much can either irritate the top of the joint or the bottom of the joint. And when that happens, then what you'll end up getting is just turf toe or actual, you're going to sprain the big toe joint, and it's very difficult to run past that or run through that. So you want to start with just 30 seconds, maybe work up to a minute, but just a couple different reps of that. Now when you get into the stretch, you're just basically going to kind of push into the stretch a little bit, and you should feel maybe a little bit back through here, but obviously into the big toe. But again, it should be like uncomfortable, but not necessarily painful. If it gets to the point of like sharp pain in the big toe, obviously back off. You might not have as much motion as I have here. You might even need to start a little bit farther back, and that's fine. You just kind of have to meet the body where it's at. Okay?